This time we are going to clean these 3 carbs in this carb set. Carb here, here, and here. The first step is to remove the breather. You have a 10 millimeter bolt there, and a 10 millimeter bolt here. This one has a nut, kind of odd shaped nut on the back side with a spacer right there. This one has the threads inside this piece of plastic. For this operation, you'll need a 10 millimeter socket, flathead screwdriver, and needle nose pliers. You will need some carb cleaner and an air compressor. Next, we will use the 10 millimeter socket to remove these 6 bolts. Okay, then we remove this big piece of plastic. The carbs should actually be free aside from these fuel lines, and we'll start taking those loose. Don't get overwhelmed with these fuel lines. They go back together fairly easily, especially if you have another carb that you can look at. You also have to remove this throttle arm that runs here, and you'll see it's labeled up. Right here that it'll say up, and this is the top part of the carb, so it goes in this direction in the orientation, and it just snaps off fairly easily like this. Just set that out of the way, and then you can start. I'm going to take this lower carb off first. It doesn't matter the order, but I'll have to take loose this fuel line, this throttle piece here that just slides underneath the plastic. You got some lines here, a couple different lines, but then you'll see all 3 carbs will come out. Got the first carb loose. We'll inspect this gasket. It's got a rough spot or 2. I would like to replace it, but I think I'm going to run with it like it is. Okay, so that's down in the carb. See down in there, there's a little jet. We'll be working on that in a second. The first thing to do is remove the bowl, and that's these 4 little Phillips head. You will need a Phillips head screwdriver, a good one, because these are really soft and you don't want to mess them up. Just take your time taking them out. Okay, we got the bowl out. You can see the float. You want to inspect the float and the float pin, the little hinge that the float pivots up and down in. Just make sure it is very easily goes back and forth, and there's no cracks or it's not damaged. This one just appears to be dirty. The pin there at the bottom seems okay. The bowl itself is fairly dirty. I'm just going to spray that out with carb cleaner and some air. Need to inspect this gasket, this rubber gasket. It looks good. Then we'll take this main jet out with a good Phillips head. And again, it's very soft metal, so you don't want to strip it, but I'll do that now. Okay, that cap is removed. You can see the main jet right there, inside there. And what we're going to do is pull that little pin jet out of there by prying on the bottom with a flathead screwdriver. me turn the carb upside down, and the pin should fall out. Okay, so remember how this goes together with the tapered end at the top. We're going to clean this whole thing. It's really dirty. It's got some tiny jet orifices that have to be cleaned out. This is one of the worst ones I've seen. Okay, it's really hard to see, but there's a tiny orifice that has to be cleaned out. Can't really focus in on it, but it's right in there, right there. I think there's two, one on the other side. So you have to try to blow carb cleaner and air in this end through this teeny hole here, and see if you can get carb cleaner to blow out this little orifice, tiny orifice, by blocking this end with your fingers if you can, or something. You want to just make sure you get these two little holes blown out.
Gross.
Get it? Did you get it? Took me forever to get those cleaned out.
You need to spray out the carb pretty good with the carb cleaner down in there and the bowl itself, and run an air line through these lines.
So this first carb should be done. We got those two things looking pretty good. To put it back together, the tapered end of that the sleeve that's about 1.5 inches long goes down over the smaller jet, and it slides down into this main jet, and then the plug, which is over here, that plug at the bottom of that bowl, right there, that plug goes, get that thing out. Okay, so you put the tapered in, slide the tapered end, with the tapered end up, slide that over the top of the jet like that. And then that goes right down the main jet like that. So you can see it. That's how we started. Now to get that to seat at the bottom, the pin to seat at the bottom, just go ahead and put the plug back in. Like that. And the main part of the carb that's probably causing problems, if you're having performance problems, should be cleaned out and issues solved once you do the other two. So you do the same thing you did with this one, with the other two carbs, and then I'll show you how to put it all back together. It's not that big of a deal. And the final step is to reattach these lines, and they should kind of be self-explanatory where they go. Just want to, anywhere you see a line, just make sure it's connected, unless it's one of these that go into the engine. don't want to forget about this throttle rod, and remember the up goes towards the electric choke.
Yeah.
Snaps right there in place. Make sure it's all moving right. And that's it. That's it, folks. Should be a clean carb. I have some a prior video that you could watch on how to install it. Thanks for watching.